Hi 4G students, welcome to another video here in the channel and welcome to a new day for EPISD at home. I hope all of you are doing well, and today is Wednesday, April 29th, 2020, and it means that it is time to do social studies again. Yes, remember that for this week we are gonna do social studies 3 times. That is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And today we have a topic that is connected to the one that we did on Monday, and that topic is the Great Depression. So let me take you to this page right here where I have a timeline of the 3 events that we have for the week. First, on Monday we had World War I. It began in 1914 and lasted all the way to 1918. Today we have the Great Depression. It began in 1929 and lasted until 1939. And on Friday we have World War II. That began in 1939 and lasted until 1945. Guys, those 3 events are all connected. Those events depend on one another. And the most important thing is that we can learn a lot of lessons from those events. Today, we have a complicated topic. As you can see, the Great Depression covers 10 years. From 1929 to 1939. So please be patient. Stay with me. Watch the entire video so you can get all the information, okay? And please watch the entire video because today we have a video conference with Ms. Rojas. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you how you can make it to today's conference. Remember that we are gonna stop using Zoom and we are gonna change into a new program which is called WebEx. So please watch the entire video so you know what to do and you can make it to today's video conference that is gonna happen at 1 p.m. Okay? So here guys, before we start with the presentation, please look one more time to the timeline, which is in chronological order. It means that is ordered from beginning to last, right? What happened first? World War I. What happened second? The Great Depression. What happened last? World War II. Okay, so please take a look at this so you don't get lost in time. Today, guys, we're gonna be talking about the second event. Yes, I'm talking about the Great Depression. So now I'm gonna take you to the presentation, which is right here. And the title is The Great Depression and the Impact on Texas. Yes, the Great Depression had an impact on everybody. When I say everybody, I mean people all over the world. People in Mexico, people in Europe, people in Africa, people in Asia, and especially people in the United States. So on the next page, right here, I have the main ideas of the Great Depression. Before we start with the reading, I want to give you the main ideas. I want to explain what is the Great Depression, right? Okay, so I'm gonna take you to through these 7 bullet points so you can have a better idea of today's topic. Okay, first, the Great Depression happened after World War I. Yes, we know that, right? It lasted for 10 years. Just look at the years from 1929 all the way to 1939. Guys, and let me tell you that the Great Depression was not a happy moment in US history. So just imagine living in sadness for 10 years. It was a really tough time, and you're gonna see why in a little bit. Number 2, life was great in the 1920s, but something happened. Yes, after World War I, people were happy, right? They were celebrating the winning of the war. The United States was with the Allied powers, and they just won the war, and people were happy. People were happy because the Great War, that's how they call it back then, was finally over. So people were screaming, people were just excited, and jazz music was playing, which is a type of music, jazz music. Jazz music was playing on all the clubs. People were dancing. People were buying cars. People were buying more supplies, more technology for their homes. Life was great, but something happened. The United States didn't have uh, how can I say it? It didn't have a good system in economics. Uh, the United States didn't know how to control really well the money that was in the banks. So that is the Great Depression. That the Great Depression is a problem with economics, a problem with money. So, and you know now that you are in fourth, you know that money is crucial for everybody. So when we have problems or issues with money, we have problems everywhere, right? So that's what happened with the Great Depression. People had problems with money. Number four, unemployment was really high. People didn't have jobs. And that's why the reason people didn't have money, because there were not jobs available for people. People wanted to work. People wanted to continue working, but something happened that unemployment, uh, that means that people didn't have jobs, was not available for people. A lot of people didn't have jobs, and that was really sad because uh, they couldn't. That take us to number five. They couldn't buy any goods or services because they didn't have the money to do so. Number six, and guys, that was the situation. Just let's go ahead and read number six. People were living on the streets and eating food from trash cans. Guys, life was really, really tough at that time. Money was not available, jobs were not available, that people lost their houses, uh, people didn't have food to eat, so they were looking for food in the trash cans. And when I say this, I'm talking about entire families living this situation. And yes, it had an impact on the US, Texas, and pretty much all over the world. Now I'm going to take you to the reading so we can understand why this happened. Let me tell you that it is a little bit complicated to understand, but I'm going to try to do my best to explain to you why all this happened. Why did the United States didn't know how to control the economics of the country? Okay. So this is where everything started. It's called the stock market crash. I'm gonna read it to you. It's a little bit hard to understand, but please stay with me so I can explain it to you. The stock market crash, October 24th, 1929, will soon change all of that. In New York City, the stock market crashed. Billions of dollars in investments were lost in a single day. People across the United States had purchased stocks, private shares in a business, hoping to make money. The stock market had generated millions of dollars for different investors. People across the United States borrowed money from banks and purchased stocks, hoping to make a quick fortune by selling the stock they purchased at a higher price. Stocks became inflated. They were soon selling for much more than they were actually worth. By the end of the 1920s, speculators, people hoping to make money off of the sale of stocks, realized that their stocks were worth less than they had purchased them for. Stock market speculators rushed to sell their stocks before they lost more money. The sale of these stocks peaked on Tuesday, October 24, 1929, when the stock market crashed. Many investors lost the money they had invested. Black Tuesday tumbled the United States into a Great Depression. So what is all of this? Okay, in simple words, what I can say, let me take you to the next page so you can see. I'm not gonna read all of this, but I just want to tell you that rich people were investing money in the banks, were investing money in companies. They were helping the economy, but the banks and the United States didn't know how to control all the money that when they had a lot of money, the prices were going like up and down, that sooner or later the banks took away all the money from these investors. They took away all the money, and they were the ones helping the economy. They were the ones helping the companies, and they lost all the money. And when this happened, all the companies closed. They just shut down because they didn't have the money from the investors. And what happens when companies close? Yes, people lose their jobs. And when people lost their jobs, people didn't have any money and eventually didn't have any food to eat. So this just created a disaster in economics. I know it is hard to understand, but here I just want you to take or to understand that companies were closing because they didn't have money, and the prices were everywhere. Actually, the prices were going so high that they didn't know how to control it. And this was a mistake done by the Congress, by the United States, that later they're going to improve, but back then they didn't know how to control it, that the banks lost all the money. Okay, the Great Depression impacts Texas. Now let's go ahead and see how the Great Depression had an impact on Texas. At first, the stock market crash in New York City seemed very far away, but the impact of the Great Depression soon spread across the United States and into Texas. Unemployment rose across Texas, hitting farmers and businessmen alike. Thousands of Texans grew increasingly desperate as they lost their life savings, their jobs, and their homes. Hungry people begged for food on the street and in soup kitchens. The Great Depression lasted for a decade, from 1929 to 1939. During this time period, life in Texas changed drastically. So, yes, the Great Depression also had an impact on Texas. Everything started in New York, but you can imagine if companies were closing, uh, they closed their stores in Texas. They closed their stores in New Mexico. They closed their stores everywhere. So Texas also suffered from this depression. And if you have been watching my videos, you know about the Dust Bowl, right? Guys, this was a natural disaster that also happened during the Great Depression. Just imagine, the Great Depression was having a huge impact on you, and then you have a natural disaster, and this natural disaster impact a lot of states around the country. And one of the states that were how can I say it? One of the states that were impacted by this natural disaster was Texas. Let's go ahead and read a little bit about the Dust Bowl. Even Mother Nature suffered during the Great Depression. During the 1920s, farmers plowed under the grasslands of the Great Prairie to grow wheat and other crops. These farms disrupted the topsoil in the Great Prairie. The prairie grasses had deep roots and held the soil in place. When a series of droughts hit the United States in the mid 1930s, the topsoil dried up and turned into dust. Violent winds blew the dust into giant storms. spreading dirt all across the panhandle of Texas. The dust was so bad it would darken the sky for days at a time. Dust would seep into people's homes, coating everything with a fine layer of dirt. Some people will even develop dust pneumonia and die from the layers of dust in their lungs. Guys, the Dust Bowl, just like it is in the title, it was a storm of dust that it covered houses, it covered buildings, and it created a disaster on the fields. The soil was damaged by this dust, by the winds, that people couldn't plant anymore. They couldn't plant more trees. They couldn't plant any more vegetables. So now the economy was even worse because they couldn't make any money out of the fields, and they couldn't feed themselves from the fields. So guys, the Dust Bowl also happened during the Great Depression, and the situation became even worse. So, how did the United States solve the situation? Okay, so here we have a great president. His name is Roosevelt, FDR. That's how we refer to him, FDR, Roosevelt. He created this program called the New Deal. The New Deal was a program that created jobs around the nation, that created new opportunities to make money. It also helped the banks to gain money and save the money for the future. He created a lot of laws to protect that money. So let's go ahead and read more about the program that saved the country. The New Deal. The New Deal benefit Texans by providing jobs through the Civilian Conservation Corps (CCC) and the Works Progress Administration (WPA). Almost 50,000 Texans were hired by the government to build parks, highways, and public buildings. Workers transformed parts of Texas by building bridges, dams, and roads. They planted trees to fight erosion and to prevent forest fires. New farming techniques were shared with farmers across Texas. And things were getting better by 1938, 1939 with an with a with a new deal, with this new program. But now the United States needed to face another issue, and that is World War II. World War II began in 1939, so they were just living a huge uh, problem, right? And now they were facing a new one, that was another war in Europe. But let me tell you that the war and the New Deal helped to end the Depression. I told you that the New Deal helped, but also the war. How did the war help to end the Depression? Well, the war created more jobs. Remember that soldiers needed to go to war, so more people were looking for those jobs. So the war helped a lot because people needed uh, to help on the fields, help to build tanks, help to do anything that they need for war, right? So the war also helped to end the Depression. But now, guys, since the United States was involved in another war, that was also sad, right? Now they were fighting. Well, they were fighting again against Germany. This time it's gonna be against Nazi Germany. But I'm gonna tell you about that war on Friday. Okay. So yes, we are just leaving the Great Depression, and the U.S. now is facing another one, and that is World War II. So before I leave, let me take you to WebEx. That's gonna be the page where you are going to That's where you're going to be able to connect today with Ms. Rojas, okay? And don't forget that if you want to read the information that I just gave you, the presentation from the Great Depression is available in Schoology, okay? Okay, guys, so how do you make it for today's video conference? Okay, so you're going to webex.com. Let me write that for you. And also I'm sending this on Class Dojo, but I'm gonna put it right here. So you go to webex.com. Okay, so you go to that page, or you can even download the app. It's available for any phone, so just go to Webex and download the app. If you're using a computer, go to webex.com, and you're gonna be able to see this. And it's pretty much like Zoom. You go here where it says join. You see here join, so you click here on join, boom, and here that's where you're gonna put the number that I'm gonna send to you. So you put the number, boom, boom, boom. It's gonna be like a 9-digit number. You click enter, then it's gonna ask you for the password, just like you did on Zoom. You put the password, and you're gonna be available, and you're gonna be more than ready for the video conference. So it's really easy. If you're having any issues with this, please send me a message so I can help you to make it for today's video conference that is gonna happen today at 1 p.m. And starting today, we are gonna be using this program called Webex, okay? And if you have any questions about the Great Depression, you can ask those questions to Ms. Rojas or myself. I'm gonna be available here in YouTube and in Class Dojo, so please send me those questions, okay? Thank you. It was a pleasure to make this video for you. Guys, take care. See you tomorrow with another video. Bye bye.